This is the O Review podcast. O Review.
Hello. I'm going to do another full update of my collection.
And me.
And you too? Alright, so let's take a look at the collection. The last time I did this was when I first built the house. That was around 2012. It is now 2018. So, on my first tower, I keep my eye shades, my razor blades, a few of the new Wind Jacket 2s, and a lot of the really old things like the original goggle. Moving down, I have a couple different frogs, mostly old ones, and then a couple of the staples and things like that. I also have a custom Andrew Peterson frog display trophy thing, which I won in a contest on Instagram a little while ago. And then I got the grip collection. So I've got everything from the two variations of the originals, all the B1s, B2s, F1s, the new re-releases that came out. And then I also got the O-Wing and then one of the B2s which came in the style of the O-Wing. So a few different ones there. Also grabbed the Voltron since my childhood one was gone and I felt like picking up a new one. Over here we got the Medusa with the over-the-top. I got a couple of the dog tags, bike badge, things like that. I also got the Pit Boss. In the rotary tower I got a few of the original straight jackets. I have the half pints and a few of the extra small 5s. I put the youth leash on most of them just so they all kind of match. And I also have the half pint division Medusa sticker. Right, then I have a few of the new re-release Zeros from around 2005. I got the Ducati edition, the Ruby unreleased edition, the Zero S, Lil Jon regular, and then the L. And then a couple just overstock. I got a few spare lenses, parts, and things like that, and then a few frames which don't seem to fit anywhere else. And I've also started running out of space recently, so part of this video is going to be creating a few new shelves to get a little bit more space in the towers. Alright, up here I have all the SI ones, so I've got the SI3, I've got the original ballistic frame, I've got the M-Frame Alpha, I've got M-Frame 2 with laser lens, a few more M-Frame 2s, ballistic crosshair, deck cord, a few tombstones in the background there, and also got the case for the tombstones. So this is all basically the SI specific models. I also have the Halo goggle in the back there as well. Moving down, I got my thump tower. This one's been pretty much unchanged since even my old house, probably 10 plus years ago. So these are all just the shells. They don't have any electronics in them, but they have the same optics and everything. So they're still functioning glasses. They just don't have any parts in them. And at this point, most people probably aren't using the thump for electronics anyway, so it's pretty much all the same. So here's my fire shelf, and basically everything has fire lenses or a neon or orange frame. So try to keep everything somewhat consistent. This is one of those themes I've been collecting for a while, and I've actually even had to do a few customs like that Garage Rock. I mix and matched a few different parts with it, so I was able to get one that was pretty much consistently just yellow. Here's a shelf I'm probably going to move in this video. Mostly just mid-2000s jackets of sorts, so I've got a few of the scars and unknowns and top coats and things like that, so I'm going to move those around. And then down here I have red versus blue, so I've tried to just take similar models with different colors and just put them on each side just to make sort of a theme. So I'm probably going to leave this shelf alone. So over here I've got the monster dogs. I stacked the boxes to make the complete picture. I've got the Hellraiser dog. I've got the RoboCop dog, and just a few of the monster dogs that I have. Here's some more either late 90s or early 2000s glasses. I got the Moon collection in the back. New frog skins, 10s, eye jackets, a few straight jackets, XS5s, things like that. So then here I have the half frame shelf. These are basically flak jackets, half jackets. Down here's all the vintage, either Mumbos, blades, razor blades, and then I even have that new collector's Mumbo. Pretty much most of the old lens shapes are represented here, so I have the old hybrid, I have the V-lens, I have the heater, strike, another heater, strip lens, old sweep, the original Mumbo with the 67, and then I believe one of those is even a baseball frame, so it's got the straight stems to it. And then down here are the M-frame slashes, and this is one of every colorway. So up here we've got the stretch line collection, so I have all the red boxes in the back, all of the Fat Cats as well as a few customs, the 2005 Razor Blade, the Riddle, the Wardens, all the things that were part of that collection. Then here's the Zero shelf, so I've got all of the original Zeros. I'm still missing a couple of the 04 squared smalls, but then also all of the Sub-Zeros, and then a couple just random ones that I've thrown on the shelf because I don't have any space yet. This is the Splice Shelf. This one's been pretty much unchanged since the last time. And then down here is more of just like the print frame. So these are mostly either late 90s, early 2000s. A couple camo frames in the front here. But I got the leather guys, the suede, a lot of the tiger prints and things like that. And then down here is most of the artist and signature series or sort of special editions. So I've got the Flores C100, the Rust bread box, a few Ferrari editions, Infinite Hero, Tron, and then I also have a couple watches spread out. I've been picking up a few watches lately, so those have been interspersed every so often. Need to get some batteries for those guys. And then the final one is this shelf here. So this one needs a lot of work. I've been packing it in with just all sorts of stuff, stacking things I probably shouldn't do. But what I started to do is right here. I built a half shelf, and I've been able to double the amount of glasses I can put on, although even though I double the amount of space, I usually end up filling most of it because by the time I put them in where they're not so cramped, it ends up chewing up most of the space. So what I did is I built a half shelf, and I have sort of a custom stand right there, which allows it to go pretty much about halfway. So I'm going to create a few more of those. So I got 4 more panels. I'm going to drill those right now. And then I'm pretty much going to empty this guy here and probably empty this row here and get everything moved in.
I'll go get this screwdriver. I'll go get it. Okay.
Alright, so what I got is a series of plastic Lexan shelves. These are 14 and 5/8 wide and just a hair over a 1/4 inch thick. So the official ones are about 1/3 of an inch thick, and the spacing is 14 and 3/4. But since I wanted to be able to slide in there and have a little bit of wiggle room, I went a little bit less, so that's why I chose 14 and 5/8. So what I have here is a 5/16 carriage bolt at 5 inches long, and then I got a nut and then a cap nut for this. And what I'm going to do is just basically put the cap nut on top, over the Lexan, one of these underneath, and then just sort of tighten it by hand. It doesn't really need to be ultra tight because it's just going to be holding some glasses. Not really huge weight bearing. I also have a 5/16 drill bit, which I'm going to drill through the corners of these guys. I'm going to do it on this nice professional kitchen counter. The first one I did, I got through most of them fine, and then I ended up cracking one of the corners out. So I'm going to put a wood backing here just so it doesn't, go through too violently. It kind of will get softened. So let's put this guy in, and then we'll keep going.
I'm ready for my hammer, and now can push.
All right, so I'm going to put one of these screws in each of the corners. I'm going to offset a little bit just so the cap doesn't overlay the edge of this. So pretty much, it doesn't have to be exact. I'm just going to eyeball these. I'm going to drill through each one of these. And then I'm going to wiggle it around a little bit because I want this to be loose. I don't want this to be too tight, because what I'm going to have to end up doing is once I get into the shelf, I'm going to have to take everything apart and assemble it inside of the tower, because putting it in, when you have these things fully set, it just, the dimensions don't work, and it's pretty much impossible to get it in and out. So I actually have to take out one of the shelves above it,
And
put it in there, and then kind of put everything in place. So that's how that goes.
Ready, and go.
Alright, so that actually worked pretty well, because the last time I did it is when it punched through, it really yanked the whole thing over. But since I had the wood there, it kind of bit into that, and then I felt a little bit of resistance, but not too bad. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this thing can go in there pretty loosely. So it does sort of slide through, but it's not as loose as I'd like. So at this point, I'm just going to sort of get the drill bit in there. Just kind of wiggle it around.
This one.
And now this thing's nice and loose. So at that point, I'm just going to repeat for each of the 4 corners on all 4 of these, and then we'll get back to you. Alright, so we got all 4 taken care of now. So at this point, we'll take the protective film off each one. We'll clean up this mess later. And I managed to only knock the corner off of one of them, so I knocked the corner off another one earlier, and it wasn't too bad. It was basically, I just put that one in the back. I had this sort of draping over it, and then since it was in the corner, it wasn't going to fall out. As long as it had some lateral pressure, we should be fine. So let's bring those into the room. I'm probably going to empty that tower, and then we'll get to work on getting these installed. Alright, so there we go. We've got all the shelves empty and everything on the floor where I will try not to step on it. So I have enough hardware at this point for 3 shelves, and I'm going to get those installed first. I think what I'm going to do is I might make this possibly for M frames, and then I might keep the X metals and sort of heavy duty metals at the top. Only because I have these taller stands here plus the cases, and I think I will dedicate a full shelf to those instead of trying to cram them onto a half shelf. I'll have one piece of Lexan left over. I don't know, I might maybe put something on here or maybe split one of those at one point, so I'll figure out what to do with that after. I might just end up having to put the 4th one up there anyway, just because I'm running out of room and things are just getting kind of crowded. And I need to take out one of the shelves that's already in there. And then I'm going to insert both at the same time, and then I'll separate the 2. So I'm going to put a few of these on first, just so I have them underneath the Lexan. Alright, so now I'm going to put these caps on here, and I'm going to put them all the way down, and then I'm going to raise the nut up to meet it. So I'm basically just going to put that on as far as it'll go. Alright, now the tricky one's going to be that one in the corner, because that doesn't have any sort of backing. So I'm just going to put the nut on there until it's roughly tight. Alright, so even though it's broken, it's at least resting on the lip, so since it's sort of tight, it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, so we got all 4 in. Nice and sturdy, not too wiggly. And now we just got to repeat these 4 more times. So there we go. All the half shelves are in. Except for the top one, and the main reason I'm not doing the top one right now is because I got everything at Home Depot, and Home Depot does not stock that many of the same type of items. So I, have all the, so I had, a lot of the cap nuts and things like that, but I was missing the carriage bolts that would fit this. So I'll put this guy aside, and I might use them somewhere else in the future. So now's as good a time as any to do some quick cleaning. Alright, so this shelf I decided to put the M frames and other sport things in here. This is probably not smart because I do have 2 racing jackets en route, so that means I'm going to have to probably move them in here on these stands since they don't fold, and then redo everything again. But for now, I think it looks okay. Alright, top shelf, X metals. I love how those ones in the back look, but they are terrible from a space efficiency standpoint. So I put the old Madman Badman cases in the back just to kind of chew up some of that space. I got X-Metal 20, Juliet on the old doubles. I got the Romeo 2 on a polarized old single, and then I got the Badman and Copper Penny in the front. So it looks like I got 6, 7, only 8 frames on this shelf, but I think it's spaced out nicely and it isn't too crowded, so I'm happy with how that turned out. I'm actually glad I didn't put a second half shelf in this because I think the layout looks pretty nice. Alright, so here is the finished shelf. At the bottom, I got some of the larger frames, Jawbreaker, Trilbay, Plate, Scar, new racing jacket. Up here, I've kind of got the Squarrow collection, so I got that Squarrow display with a twitch on it. Sliver, Jupiter X, a few other things in there. Here, I've got some of the 2000s things. I got a few of the women's models, 4S, Fate, Pocket, things like that. This level, a few more of those, Unknown, half jackets, minutes, straight jackets. I got the new EV0 range as well as one of the new Zeros and a few dartboards. I got some of the wires here, so I've got the tail end, I got a few Ys, a few teaspoons, I got the razor wire, as well as one of the carbon frames, a few more older wires here, kind of some of the smaller ones, a lot of square wires, E-wires, half wires, things like that. A few of the aluminum ones in the back. And then here I've got some of the larger wires, a lot of the aviator frames, a lot of deviations. I picked up a few of those back, and then of course I got the X-Metal guy there. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully that'll buy me a little bit of time. So there's the whole collection right off the bat. And even though I added all those shelves, I still look like I'm pretty full. But there's a few, everything's spaced out a little bit better now. So hopefully I can expand this a little bit more and not have to cram everything in so deep.